Polls are beginning to close right now in different states, and the nation's capital is pretty calm. Congressman George Santos is now facing himself with 13 criminal counts. Voting today is at 33%. The stakes are high, and the clock is ticking. And you can come and meet Cecilia for yourself at the South Beach Wine and Food Festival this weekend. September's job report closed out with a positive growth as 263,000 jobs were added and unemployment rates went down 3.5%. This is a proposal rule for airlines to disclose upfront canceling or changing flights and check bags. We had some moments of fear when we thought a mass shooter was coming around and people started running, they started crying, nothing happened and we're okay. Many races in the upcoming midterm elections are too close for experts to call. Even though it's raining, this hasn't stopped people from having fun. Reporting from Washington, D.C. for the South Florida Media Network, Nicole Castañeda. The number the ADL found associated specifically to the extremist group, the Oath Keepers, is still small. Team coverage now continues with the MLK Day Festival, and even if you weren't able to make it in person, the network's Hawa Azal has your ticket. Get ready, Star Wars fans, the most adorable character on TV is appearing in a new trailer. Right here, tons of people were celebrating the 4th of July holidays. However, this annual neighborhood block party ended up in a mass shooting where a 20-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman were killed and 28 were injured. Right now, this is an ongoing investigation.
Just after 12:30 a.m., we received calls for a shooting. We located 10 victims on scene. One victim, adult female, was pronounced deceased on the scene. 9 additional victims were transported from the scene to local hospitals. Shortly after, 20 additional victims walked into local and regional hospitals with various injuries. Worley also made it clear that the 30 people were all shot and not injured while trying to run away. This is an annual block party held to celebrate city's Brooklyn neighborhood, but police say this was an unpermitted event, so there was no police presence until the shooting began. Mayor Brandon Scott has labeled this mass shooting as a cowardly act of violence and says they will do everything in their hands to find the shooters.
I want to reiterate what I said this morning, that this was a reckless, cowardly act of violence that has taken 2 lives and altered many, many more. And as I said earlier, we will find those who are responsible, and we will not stop until we do so. I hope these folks don't sleep well, because we're not going to sleep until we pull them off.
Mayor Scott also said he didn't want to turn this into something political, but wants to bring awareness that this is an issue related to illegal guns and gun violence. Neighbors and residents gathered together to pray for the victims and for gun violence to end.
In the name of Jesus, we thank you right now.
The police believes this shooting was initiated by 2 or more people, and they are asking neighbors and residents of the area to help them with information to find them. From Baltimore, Maryland, for the Lee Chaplin News, Nicole Castañeda. September's job report closed out with a positive growth as 263,000 jobs were added and unemployment rates went down 3.5%.
This is the progress we need to see.
As for Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis says unemployment rate is the lowest among the 10 largest states, a full percentage lower than the national rate of 3.7% in August 2022. However, Hurricane Ian has caused some recent trouble. In Fort Myers, people are not only trying to find a safe and stable place to live, but also they are now faced with unemployment.
A lot of people lost jobs. My job is washed out,
He says shrimp boats have been piled one on top of the other, and the cleanup can not only take weeks, if not months. This is a big industry for this city. Nationally, people are paying more for essentials. Everything from food to rent is much higher compared to this time last year. Plus,
The thing that's hurting people, of course, is inflation.
to try to slow inflation, the Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates to make borrowing more expensive. Concerns are also related to wages not rising nearly as high as inflation, and employees are asking for more money so they can afford goods. Increasing wages is something that the Federal Reserve wants to slow down, as they fear that this might pump up money on the economy and make the inflation worse. Reporting for the South Florida Media Network from Washington, D.C., Nicole Castañeda.
We're here in front of the Washington Monument, where people have gathered with signs, with their voices, to tell the Congress to stop gun violence. There has been activists speaking, people who have gone through gun violence giving their testimonies. It has been a very emotional moment.
Washington, D.C. hosted the main March of Our Lives to call for action on stricter gun laws. Across the country, 400 sister rallies held the event in different cities in the United States.
I am so frustrated that Congress can't get anything done. I want to show that people care.
As part of the event, 40,000 roses in white represent those who were killed last year, and 5,000 in orange represent the increase in just 1 year of deaths in the country. Meanwhile, some schoolgirls were crying. Others are saying they are tired of talking about gun violence with their families and relatives.
There's been too many mass shootings to be scared anymore because it's just the reality of the situation.
Victims, activists, and Americans who don't believe in gun violence are hoping that with these events, they will put pressure on lawmakers to pass legislation in the aftermath of the shootings that have happened recently.
We had some moments of fear when we thought a mass shooter was coming around and people started running, they started crying, nothing happened and we're okay. People are still marching here. That's all the information I have here from Washington, D.C. Let's get with my colleague Amanda from Parkland, Florida.
28 million early votes have been casted in 46 states, but a CNN poll showed that Democratic enthusiasm has lowered since 2018 from a 44% to a 24%, even though Republicans are not as excited as they were 4 years ago with a 44%, voting today is at 33%. The stakes are high and the clock is ticking.
Vote, vote, vote. Look,
President Joe Biden is pulling the heavy hitters ahead of the midterm elections, as he and the Democratic Party try to motivate people to cast their ballots in 4 days.
The only way to make this economy fair is if we, all of us, fight for it. The only way to save democracy is if we together fight for it.
Representative Liz Cheney, who's not only supporting a Democrat for the first time, is also telling Americans to stay away from the status quo.
We're going to look beyond partisan politics. If the people in our party are not doing the job they need to do, then we're going to vote for the people in the other party, because we are Americans above all else.
Some Republicans are feeling confident about what will happen on November 8th.
This is our year. The Democrats can't run on anything they've done. People don't like what they've done.
There is no clear winner in the Nevada or Georgia races. Arizona shows Democratic Senator Mark Kelly in the lead with 51% against the 45% for Blake Masters. And in Pennsylvania, Democrat John Fetterman is slightly ahead of Republican Mehmet Oz, 49% to 44%. And former President Donald Trump also rallying support for Republicans in different states.
go out and vote up and down the slate. Vote for Republicans, good, great Republicans.
The National Society of High School Scholars says Gen Zers are enthusiastic about the midterms and they're most concerned about racial equity, economy, and the environment. From Washington, D.C., reporting for the South Florida Media Network, Nicole Castañeda. An aide to former President Chief of Staff who spent a day with the president on January 6 gave details about what happened in the White House before, during, and after the attack on the Capitol.
As an American, I was disgusted.
Hutchinson described how former president allegedly directed White House to remove the metal detectors because he was upset the crowd was not big enough. She testified that lead White House counsel Pat Cipollone warned about legal exposure if Trump followed his supporters to the Capitol. But Hutchinson said Trump wanted to go to the Capitol anyway, allegedly even attacking the leader of his Secret Service.
I'm the effing president. Take me up to the Capitol now. The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel.
When Hutchinson approached Meadows for details about what was brewing on the 6th, she says Meadows gave an ominous response.
He didn't look up from his phone and said something to the effect of, "There's a lot going on, Cass, but I don't know. Things might get real bad on January 6th.
Hutchinson testified that watching the violence and destruction unfold on January 6th was devastating.
It was unpatriotic. It was un-American. We were watching the Capitol building get defaced over a lie.
At the end of the hearing, lawmakers showed evidence that suggested that witnesses were influenced to change their testimonies. They said that in later hearings, they will show evidence of this matter. Reporting for the South Florida Media Network from Washington, D.C., Nicole Castañeda.